All right, well, we are right at 1 p.m. Hello, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So would appreciate if we could start off if you're with cameras on for our council members. Thank you, all of those of you who are joining us remotely. And as a reminder to our council members and attendees, our meetings are open meeting. And so while we have the ability to see each other and interact, we have a general Zoom link that members of the public can click on and join and observe our meetings. They are also recorded and posted to TEA's YouTube site. So if you're ever interested in, if you miss a meeting or are interested in rewatching all or a part of a meeting, you can always access archives of our previous meetings through that channel. I am going to, so hopefully I've already gotten a thumbs up that I'm showing the right screen. Very excited about some special guests that we have from the national headquarters for the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission with us today. We're going to start with them so that we can hear from them, ask any questions that we have, and then let them go. But we'll start off though with our call to order. We're missing a couple of folks that I am expecting, and I've seen some people come and go that may have had technical issues that were here just a minute ago. So if we'll add them to the queue if they're not here for the official call to order. I'll kill a little bit of time just walking through our entire agenda, and then we'll come back to roll call. Public comments are a standing item on our agenda. We did not have any public comments submitted to address. So we'll move through that pretty quickly. And as I mentioned, we'll officially start with our agenda items with our update from national headquarters. I'm going to introduce those guests when we get to that item. So if y'all will hang tight with me until then, and I will give a brief introduction and then let you introduce yourselves. We have an agenda item about council membership. I mentioned there's at least one or two people who I saw online that have that I don't see now, so I'm not sure what's happened there. But in general, we're a lean council right now. But I do have some updates on some new membership, as well as some next steps we're taking to fill some of the vacancies we have, as well as opening up for some discussion because there's a couple of those positions that I could use some input from the council about what might be the best next steps in terms of outreach for a couple of our vacancies. I then want to move on to talk about our 25-26 council priorities. Part of that discussion will be if we want to continue to identify our priorities by calendar year or fiscal year, because it can be a little confusing when we talk about a year and our priorities. But we'll look back at 2024 and talk a little bit more. We started this conversation back in our April meeting. We'll revisit some of the discussion from that previous meeting, and then talk about how the council would like to move forward with the identification of new priorities for the upcoming year. We are in quarter four, so officially we're wrapping up a fiscal year 25 and starting our next meeting will be the first quarter of fiscal year 26, although we'll still be in the 2025 calendar year. Along those lines, we'd also like to talk about our meeting dates for the next fiscal year. I'd like to establish and nail down our October date so we all have that on our calendars and have some discussion about future meeting dates for the remaining quarters. We have also an exciting staff report from our colleagues in the highly mobile and at-risk division here at TEA. They have an honorary position on the council. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the council membership. But that team always, or most usually, brings an update from some of the exciting work that they do to support military-connected families. So we'll have an update from them, and then also I'll open up the floor for any other council members who have updates that they would like to share. We'll wrap up with upcoming events that folks might want to mark their calendars for. We've got a couple of counselor trainings scheduled, so we're excited to get those going again, and then we will adjourn. So we have a full agenda, lots of discussion items, so I hope to keep folks somewhat active and engaged, starting with our roll call. I will call off. Please identify yourself as present. And if you are serving as a proxy for one of our members, please identify that as well when I call that member's name. Dr. John Kraft.
Good afternoon, President.
Thank you. Lena De La Cruz. Captain Bo Huffstetler.
I'm sitting in for Captain Huffstetler today.
Thank you, Heather. Nancy Patterson. Dr. Bernie Roper.
Present.
Simone Wentland Hendricks. I see Simone here, but Simone, you're currently muted. If you're able to confirm as present, you could use the chat if you want to use the chat if you're not able to get your audio to work for you. Madison Yandel. Kelly Kravitz. Kelly is not present today, but has two staff members from her division. She is the division director for the Highly Mobile at Risk division. So Anne and John, if I can count you as proxies for Kelly today.
Yes, present.
Thank you. We have two vacancies here, and I apologize, I skipped over a vacancy up at the top. Our representative from the Air Force, which is Colonel Dalby, who retired in June, but I believe I saw him logged in at one point. Colonel Dalby, are you with us this afternoon? Okay, well, we'll check and see if he is able to log in. I have reached out to his office, and so we'll talk more about that in our membership updates, but hope to have a replacement for that position by our next meeting. Jessica Garcia.
It's Jessica Garza.
Garza, I'm so
here.
sorry.
It's okay.
I think we actually have that correct on another slide, Jessica. Jessica Garza will get that corrected on our roll call. Thank you. Glad to have you with us today. And then we have two vacancies that we'll also be talking about in our membership update a little bit later on our agenda. All right, as I mentioned, no public comments were received, and so we'll move right into what I consider to be our first true agenda item, which is our update from the national headquarters. Before I turn things over to our guests, we had talked in April about having a refresher training on the compact itself from our national headquarters. However, given that we have a couple of vacancies that I really think we're making good progress on filling for our next quarter meeting of the next fiscal year, it seemed prudent to wait until we have that new membership to do that training. And it was also timely. I have mentioned that we are anticipating a dues increase for the dues that we pay as a state participating in the Military Interstate Compact. I also was pretty upfront about not being, as a new commissioner, feeling up to snuff to really best explain the dues structure to the council. And so I have brought in a phone a friend. I'll go ahead and bring that to our next slide. Gregory Lynch is the commissioner from the state of Washington. He is also the finance chair, and he has graciously joined us today to provide some information, some additional information about the dues and the upcoming increase that we're expecting and will be available for questions. But I also wanted to point out two of our supports from the national headquarters. And I'm going to let them just introduce themselves just to make sure I get pronunciations right. And then we'll turn things over to Greg for his update. Can we start with you, Charisse?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Charisse Mime, the Executive Director for the Compact. I've been with the Compact about 9 years, and prior to that, I was in Hawaii doing the same thing as you, staffing the Commissioner for the State Department of Education on the Compact. Lindsay?
Yes, my name is Lindsay Dabble. I'm the Training and Operations Associate for the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission. Like Charisse, I have been with the organization. I'm in my 8th year. And happy to be here with you all today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. One or both of those two from the national headquarters will be with us in our anticipated October meeting for that training that I mentioned earlier. But with that, I'd like to turn things over to Greg to introduce himself. Before I do that, Greg, I believe you're running your own PowerPoint show and I just need to give up sharing, or do you want me to do that for you? I do have your deck.
Yeah, if I could, I don't know if Lindsay or Sharice has access to the slides. Lindsay does. She'll go ahead and put the slides up and run the slides, and hopefully I will be able to talk the slides.
Okay, let me stop my share, and Lindsay, I think you'll be able to do that. Great.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and Jessica, thanks for inviting me. Well, just a little bit about me. I am into I think it's my 16th year as the commissioner for the compact. I'm the first and only commissioner in Washington State. I'm a retired Army colonel, spent nearly 30 years in active duty, and I'm also a recovering school district and region superintendent. I had done those jobs for nearly 2 decades. So I've given my background, I've had a child in the school system. I've done what many of our uniformed parents do, and that's move around a lot. When we moved out to Washington, it was actually our 19th move. And so our daughter attended countless school districts. So I'm coming to you from an educator standpoint, but also a dad, retired Army officer that basically lives some of the things that we're going to talk about with a compact today. I'm not an expert by any means, but I've learned a lot over the years, particularly working with the compact. And Washington was also one of the earlier adopters. So I've been the finance chair now for this is my second year, I believe, going into my third year. I'm going to talk about the Reader's Digest version of the dues increase. I would invite your questions at the end. Hopefully, I can get through these slides in about 5 or 7 minutes. And then love to be able to hear your questions and we can have some discussion. Jessica, I'm on your schedule at that point. So let's go to the next slide, please. So talk about compact member benefits. In other words, what do you get for the dues that you pay? These are some of the things that we talk about, and we'll talk about them more at our annual business meeting this fall. We do gather all the commissioners together across the United States once a year to discuss some of the things we're going to talk about today. So very, very beneficial in terms of staying abreast with what's happening not only in the compact, but also the service families and members that we support. Therese and Lindsay scratched a little bit on the advertising and promotion. You'll be the benefactor of some training coming up in the fall. We talked a little bit about that, which is a wonderful thing. The team is always available for technical and legal assistance. And so if you have questions, Jessica, I know won't be bashful in engaging the national headquarters, but that's certainly part of what we also advertise that we do. And then you can see the other couple things there. Next slide, please. We, our source of revenue only comes from essentially the dues. 99.9% of the money that we collect for the compact comes from the states basically paying a fee per student to be part of the compact. We've got some small donations from other outside organizations, but they are relatively small. We're not a taxing authority. Some school districts in the United States, depending upon what the state legislation and tax structure looks like, can levy taxes on the local populace. This commission cannot do that. So really totally dependent upon those dues that we're going to talk a little bit about today. One of our challenges is inflation, and I'll talk a little bit more in detail about inflation in a minute. It's always something that we chase, and many of you are familiar every year when you go through your own budgeting process, trying to account for cost of living based upon inflation. We've got a lot of different commissioners from different backgrounds across the United States. One of our challenges is the fact that we've got a pretty good leadership turnover. And we also see a lot of differences between states in terms of how they budget. Washington's in a biennial process. As an example, this year we just wrapped up a longer term conversation around budget in our state legislature. Next year we go on a shorter schedule. Some states that we provide support to basically have long sessions every year. And so it's a challenge to try to synchronize when we start to talk about dues increase, and Jessica alluded to it in the beginning, to make sure that the state council is informed and whoever provides the authorization for those dollars, we give you enough runway to be able to have those conversations in a manner that's helpful and understandable to your state. We hope every couple of years, and I'll talk a timeline in a second, to talk about future dues increases. And so more about that just in a minute. Let's go to the next slide, please. So what makes our compact a little bit more complex than most of the compacts in the United States, and there's right around 260, we're only one of 6 compacts in the United States that's got every state as a signatory to the compact. I just want you to know that, because what that means, and some of you will appreciate, the more stakeholders you have, the more difficult coordination and communication is. So we not only have to, synchronize obviously what's happening in the national headquarters, but across all 50 states and DC. And so when we do proposals like a dues increase, we got to account for the fact again that we're we're in the minority when it comes down to compacts. We've learned a lot over the last 15 years, but we still got a lot of room for growth going forward. Next slide, please. So I alluded to a runway a little bit ago. Last year was the first year that the compact, since its inception in 2008, actually now has got a 5-year budget. And the reason why we pushed for a 5-year budget is some of the things that I've already talked about: inflation, leadership turnover, cycles for budgets, planning processes at the state level. And so right now, for the first time, we're going to institute this dues increase that'll be effective in fiscal year 27. That'll go essentially 5 years through fiscal year 31. And so we've done the best we can, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, to be able to project what those increases look like over 5 years. Over the next couple years, we'll start to talk about what the next 5-year budget process looks like and a potential dues increase or not beyond fiscal year 31. Jessica serves as the commissioner for Texas, and part of her duty will be to vote on this dues increase in the fall during our annual business meeting. And so this gets a little bit confusing around timelines, but right now we're talking about essentially a vote that will take place in the fall of 25, that'll be effective for fiscal year 27. And so what that means is when we get to next summer on the 1st of July, 2026, we will start fiscal year 27. So we're voting this fall for an increase for fiscal year 27 that'll actually take effect in calendar year summer 1st of July 2026. And I know that some folks may be on a fiscal year cycle, some on a calendar year cycle. When we say 5 years, we're talking about our fiscal year that begins every year on the 1st of July. So just, if you got some questions about that, we can talk about it, but that's the 5-year runway that we're talking about. Next slide, please. This is probably the most important and the most complex topic to talk about as far as the dues increase goes. That stair step you see started about the time that the compact started in 2008. In 2008, we decided, because we had very, very few states at that point, that we would charge basically $1 per student. That's what each state pays, $1 per student for your uniform connected children that are in the public school system. We've done one increase in dues circa 2018, and we went from $1 to $1.15. And in hindsight, when we take a look back, we did not do the best job we could accounting for the inflation factor. Now, some of that is absolutely unpredictable. You'll see a couple years, and you probably remember not too long ago in 2022, there was an 8% basically inflation factor that we had to deal with in a cost of living. So in the aggregate, since the start of the compact up through basically fiscal year 2023, we've seen about a 35% increase inflation in the aggregate. We never accounted for that when we did our one and only dues increase before. So as we go forward in time, the next 5 years, we've done some averaging, we've done some pretty decent analysis over the last couple of years, and we determined that in 2027, we'll do a 4% increase based upon what it is now, $1.15. And in 2027, each child that participates in the compact in public schools will be charged basically $1.78. When I say will be charged, the state will pay $1.78 per kiddo in the public school system. That 4% will hold constant right now in our 5-year projection. And you can see come fiscal year 2031, on the right-hand side of the slide, will go to $2.08. So we'll make adjustments along the way. Hopefully, inflation will do what we think it's going to do. We'll always be ready to do adjustments, but right now that's the plan. So fiscal year 27, $1.78 per student. Fiscal year 31, $2.08 per student. Next slide, please. So you can see where Texas is. That's the number 2 largest state in the union in terms of supporting a uniform connected students. You see Washington is number 7. How that manifests itself for the state of Texas, because you're paying basically for 59,760 students, is next slide, please. It looks something like this. So in fiscal year 26, the year that we're in right now, $1.15 per student. The entire dues for the state of Texas, $68,000. Fiscal year 27, next July, will go from $68,000 to $100,000, and then you can see if you follow that bottom horizontal line, we'll top out at $124,000 at fiscal year 31. So that's the way it lays out right now for Texas at 4% over the next 5 years. Next slide, please. So with that, Jessica, I'd like to be able to open up for some questions and for discussion. And if I could, I can certainly turn it on over you to facilitate that, or I'm happy to facilitate whatever works for you.
Of course, thanks, Greg. Well, I think in one that the council hasn't had an opportunity to preview some of this information. So I do understand if folks are absorbing the information and processing. And so I also want to put out there's an opportunity for us to think through as a council, or for you independently to think through any questions you may have. And I'll make sure that we either run those through Greg or through the national headquarters to get you responses. But I do want to pause here and see if we have any questions now for Greg while he's with us. And I might, Lindsay, if you want to stop share, and we'll look across and see if we have any questions. I do want the council to know that this is this decision and this allotment is really made through our governmental regulations division here at TEA. And so I have already started that process and had those conversations to ensure that we have the budget in place. As Greg mentioned, the vote of the commissioners will take place at the annual business meeting in October. Wanted to give the council members just an opportunity to be aware of the process and the rationale. And as I said, an opportunity to ask any questions should you have them. Or while we have our military headquarters here, any other questions you might have related to the dues or the support that we receive from the national headquarters.
So silence either means that I was absolutely clear and you understand exactly what I said, or I absolutely confused everybody, and I hope that's not the case. Jessica, you said it. It's a lot of information to absorb. We tried to break it down in simple pieces. I'm always available, as you know, for questions by you or anybody else that's got questions. You're welcome to access me. You already have my phone number and my email address, but I'm happy to help out the great state of Texas, where I had lived previously for 3 years outside of Fort Hood, in Harker Heights, Texas. So I know Texas pretty well. One of the many places that I've had the pleasure to serve, and one of the best places I've had pleasure to serve. So with that, Jessica, I'll hang around if you need me, but I'm not seeing any questions at this point.
All right, well, we will keep you posted if that changes. With that, my teacher wait time is not the greatest, because I also want to be respectful of our council members' time. So I will keep us moving, but know that window remains open while Greg's with us, as well as any time in the future between now and our next meeting. I'm going to go ahead and need to take over screen sharing responsibility again here. Give me just a moment to do that. And we'll move to our council membership. First and foremost, I want to share some good news. We have, and a warm welcome. We have a new council member, Jessica. I thought we got it right. It's somewhere in here, Jessica. Jessica Garza is joining us as our new council representative. She joins us from Fort Sam Houston ISD. I believe you're still with them, Jessica, but if I misspeak, please correct me. And so I'd like to turn things over to you just to introduce yourself well, just that, introduce yourself to the council.
Thank you. Yes, like Jessica said, I am a school counselor for Fort Sam Houston ISD. I've been at the middle and high school for 13 years. 10 of those years were at the middle school, and for the past 3 years, I've been one of the high school counselors and also the district lead counselor for the district. Our district is a unique district in the sense that we are located on the military installation of Fort Sam. That's part of JBSA, but we are a public school. So we're not a DoD school. We're part of TEA and ISD. Our zone is the military base. And so like 90% of our students are military connected. They either live on the base, or if they live outside of the base, as long as they're military connected, they can apply to come to our school. And then we have a small population of employee students that attend our school. Because we have such a high population of military connected students, we also have military family life counselors on our campuses. So we work very closely with them, and we service our students like support group and other types of, issues that come up that are directly related to the military. So we run support groups for students that have parents that are deployed, or grief groups if we've had any of those situations going on, and then your typical, high school support groups that we have. I have also served as our student-to-student and junior student-to-student sponsors, one of them, while I was a middle school counselor. So I worked really closely with that. With our group here at Cole in welcoming those our students that are new to our district, that are PCSing or coming from a different base to our school. So it's been a great district, and it's definitely, it's been an honor to be a part of the district and to serve as a counselor for them. But thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Really excited to have your experience and background on the council. And so we're really looking forward to working with you. Any questions for Jessica before we move on to our next staffing announcement? Well, again, that door remains open as well. We're looking forward to hearing more from you.
Yes, thank you.
The second update that I have is not a council membership update, but a staffing support update that I'm very excited about. Those of you who were with the council last year will recall Sherry Messer was a TEA staff member who helped support the logistics and planning of the State Advisory Council. That position has been vacant. And we've just recently filled it. The position title is our Career and Technical Education Curriculum Specialist, and we've found just the perfect person, not just for that position for all things CTE, but to also support this council and the military interstate compact. So I would like to introduce you to Dr. Lively Briner, and Lively, I'll let you take it from there.
Hi, everyone. So good to be here. What an incredible honor. My name's Dr. Lively Briner. I am very new CTE curriculum specialist. A little bit about myself. I served in the military for a little over 11 years. And then during that time, I went and sought after my college degrees in construction science and management, both a bachelor's and a master's. And then I recently just graduated in January with my Doctor of Education. So super excited to be here. And I look forward to working with everyone.
Thank you, Lively. So again, really excited about the experience and expertise that you bring as well. Also hoping, this has been a piece, the coordination and communication piece that I feel like as a new commissioner and a new division director here at TEA has been a challenge this year. And so I'm very excited about having the additional support so that we can be more timely and efficient in our support of the field. One of the things that I'm excited about getting to work with Lively right from the starting gate, and again, as he mentioned, very new, he's just joined the team this month, is addressing some of the vacancies that we have on the council currently. We have Colonel Dalby let us know he was retiring. I have reached out. He is our Air Force military representative, or was, I should say. I have reached out to his office and also extended the opportunity to that office to join the meeting to observe as they identify a candidate who can fill his position. So that may be who we see. They might just be watching to join. Yes, I see a hand up.
Hi, this is Pat Smith from Goodfellow. Colonel Olson has received that invite, and I'm actually sitting in for him today. I think he's going to want to do that, but we'll definitely get back with you on that.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for letting us know. Pat, remind me, are you the school liaison or what is your position there at the base?
I am the Mission Support Group Deputy, and so Colonel Dalby was the former Mission Support Group Commander, and that's the role Colonel Olson's in now.
Wonderful. Well, we will, as I mentioned, we record and archive these meetings. So for that budget update or any other pieces, that'll be available to Colonel Olson. So there you go, folks. That's great news. We've already one out of 6, 5 to go. The other position actually that we are very close to and will be relatively, we anticipate filling pretty soon is a TEA position. It is our military family education highly mobile coordinator. That is out of Kelly Kravitz's shop. If you recall, she was included in the roll call, and I think we're just identifying what makes the most sense for that team in terms of our serving voting member. They joined us, a couple of team members from Kelly's shop join us for updates from that team, and we're just needs to have some additional conversation about who will serve as the voting member from that group. So really, that's really kind of takes us down to just four to go. The next 2 of our full voting members are the 2 designees from our branches of the legislature, the Senate Education Committee Chair and the House of Representatives Education Committee Chair. Both have either the ability to serve or to identify a designee to serve. They have historically chosen a designee, but because we have new chairs since the last appointments in the committee, those are currently vacant. And so we have, I mentioned our government relations team. They have, now that session is over and they were very busy in their offices with various and sundry pieces of legislation. We are still busy with the implementation, of course, a special session starting soon, but we've started that conversation again and hope to have those designatees again. My goal is as early as our Q1 October meeting, which would bring us up to just 2 additional positions, which we've talked about a fair amount as a council, but I need a little bit of additional support in reaching out and identifying and filling these last 2 positions. So The council finalized their decision in April to add 2 ex officio positions, a representative of the Texas National Guard and a representative from a reserve component from any military branch. What we had talked about was reaching out to the installations for recommendations. I still, as a pretty green commissioner, thought I had my marching orders, went back to my documents. We have, which I knew, we have several installations. I'm not sure I have the most up-to-date information in terms of how to reach out to our installations. So some, I have an actual individual, which I can try that email. Some is a more generalized office. But I wanted to talk to the council a bit about whether that is in fact what you think is the best approach. It's my just sending out an email. We've drafted one to each of the installations. It's my understanding that the reserves administratively might be structured a little bit differently, and not necessarily the installation might not be the best point of contact. But that's something I don't have a lot of information about. And so I'm going to kind of pause here and see if council members might have some other ideas about what might be the best targeted approach to reach out for recommendations to fill these two positions. Folks have been pretty quiet this morning. Dr. Roper, thanks for coming off mute.
Can you put the positions back up again so I can see?
Oh my goodness, am I not sharing my, well, I think I am
Just see
sharing.
you.
Do you just see me?
Mm-hmm. And the Capitol. Nice picture.
Oh my goodness, well, let me try my share again. I must have not shared my screen correctly. Apologies for that. Vacant council positions? Or is it still me?
No, it's up.
Okay, great. I have been screen sharing the wrong slide deck. Great, thank you. So it's those 2 ex officio positions, Dr. Roper, Texas National Guard and a reservist from any military branch.
Well, I guess my first thoughts would be to, as far as the Texas National Guard is, to go to the command and get some recommendations from them. So whoever I don't know, I was in the Army Reserve, so I'm not sure exactly how the Texas National Guard works, but going to probably the top level office in each of those and getting an opportunity to speak with someone to see what kind of recommendations they could make. That's the first thing that comes to my mind in terms of trying to get those positions filled.
Is that a single, for the reserves, is that a single office, or do you think there's one for each branch? And this is one where I don't have the background that I know exactly where to go from there.
You have reserve units all over the country, right? Everywhere, but it probably helps to go. There's one person. There's one. I think that person is either a 2-star or 3-star who's over the United States Army Reserves. So there's a commanding general that's over the United States Army Reserve. So obviously it would probably be difficult to get to that person, but at least starting with that office, and I could probably track down that information for you and try to figure out who it is we need to speak to and go from there.
That would be great. We will take any contact information that you have to share I also spoke with Captain Huffstadler offline. He wasn't able to join today, and he also offered if I send him the letter that we've drafted, that he could forward it to the right points of contact through his joint base.
Yeah, and it would be the same thing for the Texas National Guard. There's a general that's over the Texas National Guard. So if we could find out, I don't know where that person is housed, but I'm sure they have someone who can help us track down who could possibly help us fill these positions.
Great. Other ideas or comments, recommendations? Dr. Briner, I know that you have served with the reserves. You'll have to correct me and at what level you participated, but I'm wondering if you have any thoughts or ideas as well where we might send our communications in this effort.
Certainly. So I can speak to the Texas Army National Guard. It would be Camp Mabry, would be my first point of contact. And then they can certainly push that communication out to the appropriate personnel.
All right, so I think as next steps, I can reach out to Captain Huffstadler, Dr. Roper, if you have any additional context that you would want to share, but it sounds like Dr. Briner has an avenue through Camp Mabry that we might forward the request. I guess my next question for council members are there other, well, no, actually I was going to ask, I do have a list of installations. Is that still a good idea? Or should we stick with these first couple of more targeted contacts first?
I think any start is probably a good start, and they should be able to get us. It may take a few phone calls to get to the right person, but as long as we have a starting point, we can go from there.
That sounds good. See what comes back, and then if we need to widen the net, we'll do that. Okay. Any other thoughts or ideas on this topic? Okay, well, I expect if we get moving pretty quickly, I actually feel somewhat confident that we might be able to fill one or both of those positions before our first quarter meeting in October, which is a few months away, but at least have identified two additional positions I think that we can be expecting to join us in October, which again is the thinking of putting off a more of a training refresher on the military from the National Headquarters Group from MIC3. I do want to mention, though, I'll be sending out some information. Greg Lynch mentioned some of the services and support that we receive from National Headquarters. There are, Lindsay dropped in, it should still be in a chat, a link to a one-pager, an informational brochure, but also there are a number of trainings on the site that both are a requirement for our council members. So we'll be doing kind of, it's not a very nice word, but audit, just checking in to make sure that all of our council members have gone through that training, as well as making it available to the new members who join us in October. So Jessica will get you that information as well. All right. The next topic we have, I think a deeper dive might also be a good idea when we have additional council members that join us. But I would like to just touch back to some of the things we talked about in April about setting priorities for the year ahead. And so I'm going to operate from that's really our fiscal year and starting with Q1 in October. So this will just kind of be a primer for that conversation. And then I think we can come back to it in October, hopefully with some new membership as well. We looked at this slide in April. It is a list of the role of the State Advisory Council on Education Opportunity for Military Children, which is our full official name. And the first, I'll go through them, but the first thing in the list is where the council has chosen to focus in previous years, which is just the assistance in disseminating information about the military compact. And we talked about this in April, and I think most of the responses that I heard from council members were still just having people know, helping people to know that the compact exists and the support that it provides. Most of the conversation really went around that is still a need. I think what might shift or look a little different in the future is how we go about doing that, what kinds of activities, but there seemed to be interest in, we still just need to kind of stick to the basics of making sure that line of sight and that awareness exists, which can be really hard in a state as large as Texas. I'm going to go ahead and say the last things in this list are kind of taken care of by the council and our meetings alone. We are required to convene. Our role is to convene once a quarter, which we do, abide by our Open Meetings Act, which we do. We actually have some in-person attendees, which may be a first in our meeting space that we reserve where we webcast the meeting. So welcome to those in-person attendees. And we establish policies and procedures governing the operation of the state council, which is our operating procedures. So those are all kind of just taken care of. Between where we focused before and the things we're already just administratively taking care of are number 2 through 5, which all focus on identifying topics of topics and issues of interest, but broken out for parents and students, for our districts and schools, as well as raising those up to the Commissioner of Education. I don't really see these as separate priorities. Again, our role is disseminating the information, and I think what 2 through 5 say is that information is relevant to each of these different groups. So in 2024, the members had focused again on the dissemination of information, but I chose to prioritize certain stakeholder groups, parents, principals, counselors, and registrars. And I pulled this, I was not here in 2024, as you know, still relatively new, started last fall, but pulled this from a previous deck as a priority that had been identified. And then I also pulled what some of the activities were that the council had undergone. There were letters that were sent to installation commanders regarding the month of the military child. There were some trainings that were conducted for districts. Those were specifically for counselors, and the creation of a compact flyer that's available in English and Spanish. It's posted to our website. Not sure if it's posted in other places, just putting that out there. So one of the things that the council could talk about, if it is to continue to support better informing our stakeholders, what activities the council might want to pursue in the 25-26 fiscal year. And so I will say, and it's been pretty quiet out there. I know we're still building our membership, and so that's why I think we want to bring this back. But while we have the group we have with us today, I'd like to open the floor and see if we have any ideas or thoughts about what these opportunities and activities might be in the year ahead.
Good afternoon. This is Simone. I just feel that the portion where we, have awareness for parents, school staff, counselors, and registrars should be an ongoing activity even for the next school year, because you have so many changing staff, you have new parents, you have new counselors, and I think it should be an ongoing effort.
Thank you so much for coming off mute, Simone. Do you have any thoughts on looking at things that, not to say it didn't happen, but just looking from the slide I found from 2024, I didn't see specific activities for the parents. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about, and these are things to think about, because remember, we'll bring it back in October. But any thoughts today about what that might look like, what kinds of activities we might consider to best engage and support parents?
And this is just off the top of my head right now. So I felt that the military compact flyer that we did for school staff, I thought that was a very beneficial tool that we can just, as the school liaison office, we can just send to incoming new counselors or whoever it is at the staff level for school. So maybe that is something you want to consider for parents.
Absolutely. So I am sharing a slide deck, not something that I can interact with or take notes on, but we'll take notes and include it in our minutes. So I'm recording, like, just promoting that flyer. We have it. How can we get it out better, get it out there in the hands of school liaison officers, counselors, and the parents? It's a great suggestion. Leveraging things we've already done.
I would also, and this is a second thought I had, so as school liaison officers, many of my colleagues, we encounter issues and problems that maybe we can create a frequent questions answer type of flyer with, collecting information from the SLOs, that what are the issues that you are encountering and what are the questions and answers to those. Just another thought.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. The trainings, and we'll talk about that in a moment. I mentioned we're going to be revamping or restarting those trainings that have been on a little bit of a pause as I've onboarded, but they're set up as a Q&A, and I think we get really good responses from the counselors who attend those trainings that are really applicable, taking kind of some of the broad language from law and rule and policy and putting it in a real context of, you have a student who needs this or comes with this, and how to best serve that student. So an FAQ document, I think, is another really good suggestion. Thank you.
Could that flyer be something that the school districts post on their websites? Because a lot of military families, they especially when they're PCSing, they school shop and they visit a lot of websites. And if that is something that's posted on the school district's website and they could come across it, and if they come across it a few times, then they may click on it and gather the information that way.
Yep. That actually, we have a representative from Colonel Dolby's office, not Colonel Dolby, and actually it might have been Dr. Kraft who mentioned that. I can't remember. It was one of them who mentioned it in April, was visibility on the website. So using the flyer and or a QA for that visibility are both helpful. I wonder, I just started to think about if it's even, I don't know if it's a corner or a web page for military connected students that could have more than one of those resources available, maybe highlighting them during the month of the military child, just to bring attention to a reminder that these resources exist. I think, and John and Dr. Lay can speak to this. I think that might be a component of the Purple Rise schools. I don't know if it's a requirement or just something that's encouraged that districts get points for. I don't know if points is the right word to use.
Yes, it's one of the criterias for a Purple Star campus designation. So if a campus is trying to earn that designation, then yes, they would have to have it, but unless they were looking for that Purple Star designation, then it's not required. So it's a requirement.
Which I think one of the things we talked about in April are so many of our the schools that go through the Purple Star process are the ones that are already doing it, not to say that districts aren't doing it right, but have that information, have more direct connections, are close to bases. But I will say most of the calls that I have been getting and trying to support counselors with might be one-off, a couple of districts over, or it's not a district in an area with a high level of enrollment of military connected students. So wondering how we promote the resource with those districts and those counselors.
Miss Jessica, in the chat you have Miss Cherie saying, would it be
Okay.
possible for the department to send letters to the district superintendents informing them of the compact? I think that is a really, really good suggestion, because this council hasn't been, in existence for that long. So maybe area superintendents are not aware. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you so much. I will, if you would be willing to continue to monitor the chat for me, I would be forever grateful. I'm not
Yes.
not great at monitoring. I'll just get distracted.
Yes.
Thanks for calling that out. That's a great idea, Charisse. I mean, we've got a lot of superintendents, but a targeted communication, I'm starting to wonder if to the administrator addressed, if the timing is right. Sometimes we need an event or something around that, but like the month of the military child, or some other finding the right timing of putting that out in a TAA might be the appropriate mechanism to communicate something across the state. Charisse, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if we were allowed to speak.
Please.
I'm not a member of
Sure.
the council. But it's your military highly impacted districts that are really aware of the compact, just because they work it all the time.
Exactly.
For us at the national office, we notice the ones that inquire or have no idea are the ones that are less impacted or very low impacted, especially with Guard and Reserve, or just a smaller base within the states. So again, or you're farther away you are from the bases or the installation. So again, this might be something the memorandum could be sent out to all districts throughout the year. I mean, at the beginning of the year or at the end, whichever is most appropriate. Again, some states do beginning, some states do the end, some do it right in the middle around December or so. It just depends. We can surely send copies for the council, for you, Commissioner, to consider as you move forward. But anyway, it's just an idea other states are doing. We thought would be good to share with you.
That would be great. And just one of the types of resources that Greg was talking about, the national headquarters can offer us. And so I will definitely take a draft of that communication and look at and talk with our leadership about what timing and best method of communication might be for putting something like that out. We've got a couple of activities that we've thought at. As I mentioned, I would like to bring this topic back again in October when we have fleshed out our council even a little bit more and have that new membership and finalize some ideas. I can give some updates on progress that we've made in planning for some of the ideas we already have, open the floor for some additional activities that we think we might be able to engage in next year. Any other thoughts or ideas before we move on? All right. Well, Dr. Ripper, I will, if I can put you on the spot as a superintendent, other ideas about how we might best get the attention of your cohort?
Are we still talking about the activities and things?
How to
Yeah.
just best message to superintendents?
Yeah, I just think the communication piece is just really important. I like what Simone said. A lot of the activities that are listed here are, I think, activities that need to happen every year. So there's a month of the military child every year, right? So those are, we're just going to have carryover activities. There should always be compact training for districts. So I don't want to repeat everything that she said. I just wanted to just support what she said, because it's important, because there are certain things that I believe need to happen every year. And then if there are some other things that we come up with that we think are good for military connected kids, then we can add those. I probably would have thought a little about this a little bit more. I guess had I knew that that was coming up, so I could have thought of some things or got some input from my staff, but it'll be something that I'm thinking about to see what we can do or share to help support our military connected kids.
That's great. And this is that preview. We will bring this back in our October meeting for additional ideas. So we will, it will not be too late at that point in time. One value add that I wanted to call out from you, Dr. Roper, was be doing every year. And I think I heard you saying something even possibly at the same time. So building some routines perhaps, so that we've got a schedule or a cadence of communication that can be followed. I think that's another thing that we can look at and think about between now and the next meeting, my team and our planning. There was one other, this basically what we just talked about. One other thing I wanted to raise that had come up in April. I think it might have been Simone's idea. It's something Captain Hudsettler had also suggested after a situation with a district, a unique situation with a district that he got pulled into, I was pulled into working with the SLO to address and ultimately resolve. But case studies, it kind of ties into that frequently asked question. Like, what are some of the issues that are coming up that are and the solutions or the responses. I'm just looking at 2, 3, 4, and 5, and it's you disseminate information is a role, but identifying the topics and interest and issues that are of interest, or I would say that impact our students and their families. We, I think, had kind of floated the idea of perhaps providing an opportunity within our meetings to include a case study, possibly coming from the SLOs could suggest I've got something that's come up or something that was raised to my attention that I could ask that SLO if they'd be willing to share. I am wondering if that is something that the council feels like would help you better understand, though I know you're very connected to the work, what some of the issues are. So my question is, if you would like to see a case study component to our meetings with the resolution. And it can just be an informal response today. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Roper.
So I think that may help. You know, I know we just went through some of this training this summer with MIC3, and I don't know how many case studies they have, but they probably have a ton of them. As a matter of fact, we went through several of them this summer that are very applicable to what we do in situations that we run into or that schools run into. So I know that Sharice is still on here, and I know she's familiar with different scenarios and stuff that they could possibly share to help us better understand the different situations that come up that they, at their level, address when it can't properly be addressed at the district level. Sharice, you want to add something to that?
Yes, sir. We do have a huge server of the cases that we have encountered and can certainly pull out, especially the ones from Texas. So that might be helpful. But I think with Commissioner Say's suggestion, there could be some that the school liaisons have encountered that are a little bit more challenging that they were able to fix. Because remember, we only get the ones that come to our level. So that might also be another resource. We could send you what we've got for consideration to see what you folks would like to address. But yeah, we could definitely put something together for you folks. Not a problem. Especially Texas. You know, in looking through our cases, most of the cases, of course, come from tier 1 states, which are high level states like Texas, Florida, California, Hawaii, Washington. So I'm sure we've had a number of Texas specific cases, right, Lindsay? I think at least per year. She.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
Okay.
I think that would be very helpful for the trainings that we're doing, as well as for the FAQ that was mentioned. but I'm also wondering if there aren't some real-time, real-life examples that are coming up that are specific to our state that our school liaison officers might be encountering. Simone, I think you
Yes,
spoke to
we
this
have.
last time.
Yes, ma'am. So yes, the school liaison officers in every installation will be able to provide you with mostly cases that they solve themselves, but that we come across very frequently, or that we reached out to you on. So I want to say yes, and I also feel that would be a great benefit.
It's not a part of, thank you. Agreed. And I think I've said, I don't know the percentage. This is a goal. I guess this is within our agenda because we're talking about priorities. I would love to have some more data about what our almost an incidence report of how many issues our SLOs are resolving. I don't know what that collection would look like or interface just yet. It's just an idea right now, but I keep saying our SLOs are taking care of 95% of the issues that are coming up in schools and districts, but I don't actually know. And so one of my priorities for this year that I'll bring to the conversation in October is establishing some better communication with our school liaison officers. No details available yet, but one of Lively's, Dr. Briner's first activities will be scheduling a kind of a kickoff conversation with our school liaison officers. It's long overdue, just an opportunity for us to introduce ourselves to our school liaison officers, just establishing ourselves as a point of contact, and then building upon that with a follow-up training for SLOs before the end of the year. And so there's a good opportunity there as well to collect some of those case studies, and also potentially setting up a cadence, Simone, having our one or more of our SLOs presenting to the council. So very excited about that, more information in the future, but just kind of a personal priority that I have for myself in the coming year.
Can I just add that as Texas School Liaison Officers ahead of the annual business conference, we do collect, the top 3 issues that, so every installation will submit what the issues were with the MIC3. So we also, work on that data.
I will definitely be reaching out to you, Simone. I'd love to have more information about that and the timing of that. And maybe you can help us plan what the best timing would be for these sessions that we're hoping to get started with the SLO community. All right. Well, with that, I am moving to council member and staff reports. I have mentioned that we have staff from the Highly Mobile and At-Risk Student Program Unit with us today. I think I'm driving the slides for them, but they just have a couple of updates. This is kind of our sister division in this work. They're in a different part of the agency, but as the Highly Mobile and At-Risk Student Programs Unit, they support our military-connected students as well, and provide other resources. And speaking of data, they've got a lot of great data points. So I'm going to turn things over to you, John. And Dr. Lake.
I'm going to go ahead and start, and thank you so much for sharing. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Dr. Ann Lay. I'm the manager of HMAR and also the program lead for our military connected student programs. I have with me today my counterpart. John, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, I'm John Dobbins. I'm HMAR Program Specialist here at TEA. Thanks for having us.
We are honored to represent TEA as we continue our commitment to supporting military connected students and their families. We're excited to share some important updates and upcoming initiatives for the 25-26 school year that reflect our ongoing dedication to this unique and resilient student population. Jessica, if you can go on to the next slide. Here is a high-level overview of what we have in store for this upcoming school year. For the first time ever, our military stakeholders will have access to a comprehensive bank of professional development opportunities. This includes the launch of a 5-part series of Purple Star PLC, or Professional Learning Community, along with targeted professional development sessions, including college readiness for our military connected students and their families. And then also an introduction of 2 Texas Military Summits. These offerings are designed to build capacity, foster collaboration, and ensure that educators and leaders are equipped to meet the unique needs of our military connected students. On the next slide, in addition to our professional development, we're excited to unveil a suite of innovative new resources. This includes 4 micro videos tailored for educators and 4 designed specifically for families, each offering practical strategies and insights. We're also launching a self-paced online military connected student overview course through our TEA Learn platform. This provides flexible and accessible training that supports continuous learning and engagement across our school communities. And I'm going to hand it over to John, and he's going to speak a little bit about data and resources.
Thank you, Ann. Next slide, please. We would like to highlight several additional resources and initiatives that will be available for the 2025-26 school year. First, we've updated our military student identifier infographic to reflect the latest data and guidance. These are designed to help districts and campuses better understand and utilize MSI data to support military connected students more effectively. Next, we've released the 2025-26 Military Connected Students Programs Events one-pager. This will serve as a quick reference guide for key events, trainings, opportunities throughout the school year, making it easier for educators and stakeholders to stay engaged and informed. We're also proud to announce the formation of the inaugural Texas ESC Cohort Network, a group of military champions from across the state's educational service centers. This network will foster collaborations, share best practices, and strengthen regional support for military connected students. And finally, we'll continue to recognize excellence through the Purple Star Campus Designation Award for the 2025-26 school year. These awards honor campuses that go above and beyond in supporting military connected students and their families. And we're excited to see even more schools earn this designation. On the next slide, to close out our report, we wanted to take a moment to highlight the significant growth we've seen in the number of military connected students across Texas over the past 3 school years. This growth not only reflects improved identification and reporting practices, but also underscores the increasing importance of targeted supports and resources for this population. As we continue to expand our initiatives and partnerships, this data helps us guide our efforts and ensures we're meeting the evolving needs of military connected students and their families across the state. Finally, on our last slide, we have a QR code so you can visit our military website to learn more about available supports for our military connected students. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, John. I'll be sure to include in a follow-up communication both the QR code and a link to council members if you want to access the resources that were just shared. I wanted to go back to your previous slide, and I noticed your numbers for Texas National Guard and Reserve Force. Do we have district level data? Do we know where these students are?
Yes. Yes, the data has been disaggregated by also our 20 ESC regions and also by school districts and whether they are charter schools or Texas public schools. So that information we do have on hand. And we usually, when the ESCs reach out to us, we provide that information so that they can better support the school districts within their region.
Great. Just a thought as we're looking for individuals from those 2 sectors there might be some areas of concentration that we might want to focus our efforts around.
Definitely. Yes.
Any other questions or comments about any of the data or resources provided by the team? I don't think I had pulled up the last graphic on your slide, John. The state of Texas, the counts that are there, that's the number of Purple Star campus designations within each of those regions?
Or the last slide that we have?
The one I'm showing now with the state of Texas and the numbers in the different regions. Oh no, that wouldn't add up to the number
Yeah,
of
no,
Purple Star
that's-
campus
yes.
designations. That
No,
would be much more
that's
than
the
that.
that's the number of military connected students.
So in terms of Purple Star, we are wrapping up our designations. And so we are working on the award list and the announcements coming up. And so those will be announced in September.
Got
Yes.
it. And I'm realizing that the Texas, it's just showing the numbers of the ESC regions. I
ESC
was thinking
regions.
them as numeric
Yes.
count. That took me a minute. That's just identifying the number of the region. I think most folks on this call would know that our state is so large that we're broken into service centers to provide support and technical assistance across the state. And so we have those 20 regions, which are identified in that last graphic. So, I mean, additionally to Jessica's point in our earlier conversation about having a website and access to information, well, we have the compact that the curriculum division supports, and that's something we haven't really talked about as a council, but in part why the compact and support for council for the military compact, that work lies in the curriculum standards and student support division, is because so much of the compact revolves around enrollment, withdrawal, award of credit issues, high school graduation, and that is really our wheelhouse. Dr. Lay and John's division is supporting that transient population and including military connected students, and that the mobility, as I mentioned, their division's title is highly mobile and at risk. So we both provide support, so not siloing and bringing together our efforts so that we can share out our resources and our support for this community is also a really important conversation that we need to have, I think, as a part of the council, both promoting and publicizing each other's resources as well as coordinating our support to the field. All right, well, I will cue us back up. Any other announcements or topics or issues from other council members to share as a part of the council member reports?
You have something in the chat from Dyess Air Force Base. I would like to see each regional office website have a dedicated section for military connected support. I was able to meet with Region 14 and they willingly added a link for the military families in our area.
That is a great suggestion, starting with the ESCs. And then just as we were just talking about, using that as a launching pad to communicate those expectations and sharing those resources to the school districts they support, but starting there. So
Can I add something real quick?
Of course.
Okay. Yes, and that's what we're going to be working on in terms of our military connected student programs in HMAR. The inaugural Texas cohort that Mr. Dobbins had shared, we are starting that this year. And so a representative from each of our ESCs, they're going to be part of a capstone project, and we're working towards providing more transparency and information across all of our ESCs. The barrier that we do face is our military champions over at the ESC are voluntarily designated, and so they do play another role, and so we're working really hard to ensure that the information is there so that school districts is able to reach out to those ESCs, but we do have to keep in mind that they are volunteers in the role of our ESC military champions.
Thanks, Dr. Lay. So that is, and I attended one of the, I might not title the meeting correctly, but one of the military champion sessions that you had with that group.
Yes.
Which was very informative. And you mentioned the project they'll be working on. Is this idea of kind of those volunteers advocating within their ESCs to have a webpage dedicated to military connected students? Is that something that could somehow fit into that conversation and those projects?
Yes, we're trying to ensure that we have very similar content that goes across the state of Texas, but they will be catered a little bit based on regional needs, but we will be working with our ESC military champions to include some information for support of our military connected programs, but also tying that into our Purple Star campus designation. As we know, our school districts and charter schools across the state of Texas are really wanting that designation moving forward. And so any way that we can help support that and the ESC supporting that, that's what our goal is.
I realized that we were talking about website and that expectation is already there for those applicants for Purple Star. Would love to work with you to include, like, being specific about including the military compact flyer as one of those resources. As you talk about standardizing the web page, if that's a place where we can get that flyer, it's available in English and in Spanish. Would love to have more conversation about sharing the resource out through those websites at the ESC level. Great suggestion.
Absolutely. Yes. And I dropped the link to our TEA Military Families webpage, and that has been recently updated to include the compact flyers and all of our resource and information on the compact. And we're going to be providing training to our ESCs regarding how to use the TEA webpage and also including that information on the ESCs.
Great. I want to reflect kind of something else I heard from Dr. Roper. It's true, it is a little bit of the broken record syndrome of, like, we just always need to be talking about and promoting the compact. But I want to come back to what you were talking about a timing, like even having a strategic plan so that it's not a conversation we have to have again every year. This is our strategic communication plan. Having that in place, and then it's just something that you activate each year, and could streamline the conversation as well as the activities and make it with a little more automaticity, and then eventually getting that to be kind of a fine, well-oiled machine. So really appreciate the conversation about how we can do the same things that we know that we need to do every year, but thoughtfully with intentionality, and maybe some automaticity would be great. All right, with that, any other issues, topics, or announcements? And thank you, Simone, for watching the chat for me. All right, well then I will move us to our 25-26 meeting dates. We have proposed meeting dates that we would like to share. The first date, I want to go ahead and say that is an established date just because of TEA's availability to keep our cadence on Mondays at 1 p.m. Hopefully that will work for most of our members, if not all, as well as our incoming members. So would like for you to go ahead and save the date. We will, in our follow-up communication, send all of these dates. We may... What I wanted to ask is if you would rather us just finalize the 4 dates that you see here, or if you think you would prefer that we set up, I don't think we've done this in the past, a polling mechanism that we give you a couple of options within the month. The months stay the same: October, January, April, and July. So we could do that. Giving you an opportunity to pick a more ideal dates before we finalize in October, with the exception of the October date, or we can just move forward with the 4 dates that we have. And so wanting to check, oops, sorry, looks like I have a typo there on one of my, on my last date there. I think you have found 2 mistakes today, but fixing
Jessica,
that.
I recommend that we just move forward with the dates that you guys have established. I think it'd be too difficult to start getting everybody's individual preferences. So I can work with the dates that you guys have.
Miss Darcy is putting in the chat that October 13th is Columbus Day.
Oh,
Yeah.
which is not an agency holiday, but to your point, as it's coming through, federal employees will be off, which is an excellent point. I am not sure that we have an alternative for TEA because of other conflicts in the schedule. I'm not sure how we missed that one. I apologize. So in part, the reason why we had, and I'm glad Sharice and Lindsay are here with us, why we moved this back from having it the Monday of the following week is because it's the week of the annual business meeting. And we thought you guys would be too busy to come on a Monday and provide a training to us. Is there any flexibility? I mean, we could potentially postpone our training, but that was actually the logic and why the following October was eliminated from the options.
Lindsay. I think I'm looking at our calendar. I think we can make it work because we don't travel right until, well, that's the week of the ABM, right? The following week, 23rd, 24th.
Are we looking at October 3rd, 2025?
We're looking
No,
at
we were
13th.
looking at the original date that was selected by staff was the 13th, but it's Columbus Day and we missed that. It's not a state holiday, so I don't think it was on our calendar but
Yeah.
folks are reminding me that it is true. We can record the meeting, but wondering if the reason why we didn't select October 20th is because we weren't sure that MIC3 staff would be able to come and do a training that day.
So Sharice, I think actually we're okay that day because we won't be able to leave until the following day.
That's correct. So, Commissioner, we can do the 20th. That's open for us. So it's not a problem.
Well, that was really the only issue with the October 20th. So I've displayed that on the screen. And the point has been raised. Thanks, Pat. That is true that we do record. It is always, especially since we're expecting some new members, I would like to have as many people in attendance as possible. Really the only concern about the 20th was, again, our MIC3 staff who are going to come and do a compact training for us. And so if it works for them, I move that we make that adjustment. Any objections? Hearing none, if you took a screenshot or wrote those down, you may want to make that revision, and I will do that as we go because I've got that date a couple of times. And so as well, Lindsay and Sharice, if you can mark your calendars.
Yes,
Gives me
ma'am.
one more week to get new members on board. All right, so I am going to make that change here as well. And move to our next slide. We will send these dates out as well. Thanks, Dr. Roper. We wanted to give people the option if they wanted to vote, but we are happy to move forward with these dates. And so it sounds like if there's no objections, we will do that. Hearing none, I will move to our next slide. Just a couple of, we are winding down, folks, a couple of upcoming events that we wanted to put on your radar. Simone, I want to promote your Education Summit on September 19th. Would you like to share any details with the group?
Oh, sure. Yes. So we have a biannual education summit here on Fort Bliss, where we invite our 10 area school districts. We share information. We have breakout sessions that are geared towards our military, towards educators, such as, MIC3 training. We have our R2 resiliency team coming that is going to share some resources with our educators. And we have a panel discussion where we invite students and parents that are sharing, their experience with transition, so that the educators can put a face to it and see, hey, these are the families and students that come to our campus every day, and just kind of open that conversation and kind of make it relatable for our educators. And then right after that morning session of breakout sessions and professional development, we have a seated luncheon for our area superintendents and Fort Bliss leaders and the VIPs that we invited for that day to just kind of have that conversation a little bit more in depth. What does the installation need to know? What are some things that the installation can support the districts in? So we're looking forward to it. We do it every other year. It's always very beneficial, and it gives us a lot of things that we can work on following that event.
Great, thank you. Not including us as VIPs by any stretch of the imagination, but Dr. Lay and I are hoping to be able to attend in person. Very excited about the opportunity and appreciative of the invitation.
Oh, we are too.
Great. We also had, and I may want to coordinate this with you, Simone, since you include your area districts, we have an invitation to present a counselor training at Isleta ISD sometime in September. We're looking for those dates, so we may want to spread that out. The summit, we would not actually have a training, but so we just want to make sure we don't overlap dates, or since I think that's just internal to Isleta versus the larger community. But that's coming up soon. And on that note, I recognize that the focus on this call might not be necessarily the best audience for this ask. It's one of the things we may want to talk about in October as we talk about dissemination of information, but we are happy to expand and do additional trainings across the state and other districts. Jessica, I'd love your ideas since you're tapped into the counselor network. We could promote potentially at one of the counselor conferences that happen in November and February. But if there are other communication streams that we might identify, we can't turn around and do every district. We're such a large state, but would love to get a calendar of training scheduled for this year, this upcoming year. And if it's more than Dr. Briner and I can handle, Charisse and Lindsay can replicate the training that they'll be doing with this group in October as well, and we can tag team if needed. That would be a great problem to have more training set up than we can feasibly do. Simone, did you have a thought?
So I'm typically what our area is doing, and it's not just this letter. From my understanding, it is the EPIDOCs, the El Paso area guidance counselors from all 10 districts. I'm not sure. That is what I'm tracking.
I think, yeah, we have been in communication with in the past and just need to reestablish that communication, but also interested in other parts of the state with those high populations of military connected students, but potentially some of those adjacent areas too, where we're finding, Charisse made the point earlier that there's a smaller population and so not as much support, but just as many big problems, because it's about one kid's graduation. It's a big problem. So we want to build this communication network. I'm getting kind of excited about what I'm going to call Dr. Roper's idea of having a strategic communication plan, and already thinking that Dr. Briner and I might bring something to the next meeting to look at and think about kind of a schedule of these different kind of communications and outreaches that we do that will just again become kind of routine for us and for the field, and more about that at our next meeting, which is my next line item, October 20th. And here we go, I apologize. No, still 2025. Almost got my wires crossed there. Still in 2025, October 20th will be our next meeting. I did make that adjustment while we were talking. And then the annual business meeting, just a few days after that, will be in Indianapolis. That is when the commissioners will vote and make official the dues increase. And so we'll put an agenda item on our October meeting as well, just in case there are any additional questions, comments, or discussion about the information that Greg Lynch presented today. We will share both the resources from Highly Mobile at Risk division that was shared with you today, as well as our slides and the slides that were presented by Greg with the council, including our dates for next year, so you can start marking your calendars. With that, I believe that that completes our agenda. Oops, didn't update this one. Don't look at that date. It'll just confuse you. Let me get that updated here. We've got a couple of those. You will receive your meeting agenda in advance with your link before the meeting. If you have agenda items that you would like to see added, you can send those to Dr. Briner, and communications will start coming from him for these meetings. So you'll have his direct contact information moving forward. It should speed up response rates from me as well. Because he's going to pass them along to me, answer what he can and pass what he can't along to me, so that we can be more responsive to your requests. I know that that has been a little bit challenging in this transition year. It has for me as well, but want to make sure we're getting back to you and getting you the information and the support that you need. That wraps us up our agenda and calls us to adjourn. Thank you again for your time this afternoon. Have a wonderful what's left of your summer. I wish folks who are gearing up for a new school year that it goes smoothly for you. And we will look forward to seeing you in October.
Thank you, Commissioner. It was great to see you all.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.